Football Manager 2022 Beta has been out for almost a week, and as much as many of us have started and are enjoying our current saves that we've got going on at the moment, there are a lot of new people who have never played Football Manager before, and maybe they might not know much of where to look when it comes to starting a save for the first time. So I've put together this little tutorial that will hopefully help those who are starting their first ever save in Football Manager. Hello and welcome to the first of what will hopefully be a series of tutorials here for FM22. My name is Craig, and as mentioned in the intro, we are going to be going through today, for those who are starting a save for the first time, what to look for when you are first starting out your first ever Football Manager save. So in order to do that, I'm going to be using an example here in FM22, and I've chosen my favourite club Arsenal in order to actually go through this. So you've chosen your team, you've set up your database, what you want to include in the game, and you've now got your first screen where it shows that you have taken over your first club. So I've just been hired by Arsenal, a 3-year deal worth £72,000, the sort of thing you'd see in a news article in all fairness. So you click next, and assuming it actually moves forward quickly enough, you then get the information on the club that you've chosen. So for me, Arsenal, their reputation, where the media thinks they're going to finish, and also a little brief bit on their history as well, their trophies that they've won over many years, of course 13-time domestic champions for Arsenal, and a little bit about their history in terms of when their best period was, some of the trophies that they've won as well, and also what is expected of the team in the upcoming season. Now, you can see this in a lot more depth later on, so that's what we're probably going to be doing just in a few moments. You also get a quick team report on what your best 11 is going to be. So of course for Arsenal, the likes of Saka, Aubameyang, Lacazette and Gabriel will of course be in there because they're some of Arsenal's best players. But again, you will assess this when you come to the main squad screen. And as well as that, you'll also get this in your inbox a little later on, the club vision. Now we're going to go into it a little bit more in depth here, because all it basically shows is the club culture, so what the board are expecting you to do in terms of the football style that you should be playing while you are in charge of Arsenal. So attacking football, entertaining football, and signing players under the age of 18 for Arsenal. That is absolutely fine, that's standard for them. Work within the wage budget, that is standard across all clubs, and that is something that you really should be paying attention to, whatever club that you are at in the world, because if you don't work within the wage budget and the finances go south, you could actually be sacked for that. So just be very careful for that, especially at the beginning of the game. And of course you have a 5-year plan from the current season all the way through until, well, at the moment 2026, because 5 years in the future. So at the moment, the club want us to qualify for the Euro Cup through the Premier League, and eventually qualify for the Champions League and challenge for the Premier League title. So that is the 5-year plan that Arsenal set. Of course, this is going to change depending on which club you are at. If you're starting up the game for the first time, this is very important. You will have the option to receive a lot of different inductions to different features of the game, both old and new. So if you're not sure how scouting or transfers or the training or tactics might work, then all you have to do is just click send today, and these items will be sent to your inbox, and that would include as well other things such as squad dynamics, backroom staff induction, all of this stuff. If you're unfamiliar with these features, and especially for beginners, I would probably recommend that you have those sent to your inbox just to give you a little bit more in-depth into the game. You'll also be offered a press conference and an intra-squad friendly, so playing your under 18s or under 23s for example. I would probably recommend having these set to yes, especially, in fact not even just if you're first time, even if you start another club later down the line. Have these switched to yes, because these can be beneficial for your squad. Okay, so we have made it to the inbox now, and as you can see there is a lot of inductions that have been sent. These are the ones that I clicked just to show that they go through to your inbox. But the first thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to accept the current vision. Now you can negotiate it, but the problem is when you start a save for the first time, chances are you're not going to have much of a reputation, and therefore you're not really going to be able to change much in the club vision. So my recommendation, just accept the current vision. It for the first season anyway, it's not going to be anything too unreasonable unless you're Manchester City, in which case they expect you to win the Premier League probably. So we're going to start with the club info page. So here I am on Arsenal's information page, which has slightly changed for this year compared to FM21 and FM20, which I'm more familiar with. And we just got the main information for the club, the kits that they have. That third kit looks terrible, by the way. And also the basic information for Arsenal, their nickname, the Gunners, what year their found is, their professional club, and of course who the manager is, me or you, whichever. Your captains, so in this case Aubameyang for Arsenal, and Granit Xhaka is our vice captain. It also shows our rivalries, of course Tottenham, local rivals for us, as well as the number of legends and icons and favoured personnel who have been through the club over the club's history, if you will. Your aim overall, if you do stay at one club, chances are you'll probably want to get yourself onto the legends or icons list. It does take a long time, but if you do win trophies and build up that reputation, it will happen eventually. If you go over to general, which is where you can now find the league history and exactly where, in this case, Arsenal, how they've been doing over the last 20 years, give or take. As you can tell, Arsenal have been one of the top clubs in England, then they've dropped off in the last few years, effectively becoming a mid-table side, if you will, which is rather depressing if you're an Arsenal fan. So, for example, if you took over someone like Arsenal, you may wish to set a target of getting yourself back into the Champions League, where Arsenal, you could argue, belong as a big club. You can also view the facilities here, so their stadium, Emirates Stadium, 60,000 seater, all-seater that is in this case. You can also view the facilities at the club in terms of your corporate facilities, training, youth, and any youth recruitment that you also have. In the case of Arsenal, they're all going to be near top of the range. You may still be able to improve them over the next few years, but for the majority of clubs in Football Manager, chances are not just youth facilities, but all your facilities will more than likely need major upgrades, but that's to be done over a period of time. The next thing you may want to check out is the finances of the club. How healthy of a financial position is the club that you have chosen? In the case of Arsenal, just up here underneath finances, it says rich. So there shouldn't be any problem with money, considering they are also in the Premier League. £119 million in the bank speaks volumes, of course, of the fact that they're rich. You only have a £10 million transfer budget as well, so chances are, depending on what players you want to keep at the club, you might want to get rid of some as well. This all changes depending on the club that you are at. If you're lower down the food chain in England, for example, lower down the league pyramid, you'll hardly have any transfer budget, and probably the same with wage budget. These two are going to be very, very important, transfer budget and wage budget, in determining how much of a change you can make to your squad, certainly within the first season. Of course, one of the first things that you will want to do is assess the squad that you have inherited. So, for example, how many players you have in certain positions. Arsenal have 4 goalkeepers, that's quite incredible. But where do you have the most players in certain positions? So it could be you might have a load of strikers, or a load of defenders, or a load of wingers. Maybe you have no wingers. Where you have these players could determine, or in fact it will determine, what tactic you are likely to select. For example, you're not going to select a tactic where it requires wingers to play and you have no wingers, for example. That's going to be very, very difficult, so you might want to go for a very narrow formation that's right through the middle of the pitch. We'll come to tactics though in just a moment. The most important thing to assess here though is which players are the best players in your team, which you can use the squad depth for example, across many different formations, just up on the top left here. So you can choose a formation that you might wish to use, for example 4-2-3-1, or you could just use a 4-3-3. Just assess in different formations where your best players are. The gold stars that are here are how good your players are in relation to the rest of your squad. So it's a very, very good starting point to see where your best players are and where they might fit into a certain tactic. And of course, speaking of tactics, we come to the screen that causes a lot of debate in Football Manager. So if you are new to this, welcome. You're right at the heart and the very centre of what makes Football Manager so captivating for a lot of people, as well as very argumentative and debatable for a lot of people as well. So you come to the tactics screen, nothing will show up, you're literally at the very beginning. On the left hand side you've got a bunch of tactical styles. Now, these little thumbs up on the very corner of each tactical style, these are the ones that are recommended to you by your assistant manager, which may suit your squad. So in the case of Arsenal, a gegenpress is very suited, so a very high pressing tactic, if you will. You could also go for tiki-taka or vertical tiki-taka, very possession based football, dominating possession, trying to create chances. So let's just choose a quick gegenpress, and we're going to go through to the formation that's been selected. Again, there's a little thumbs up just on the left hand side next to 4-2-3-1. So your manager is your assistant manager is recommended to you a 4-2-3-1 formation, because they believe that we have the wingers as well as the the attacking midfielder in order to play this system. So we're going to confirm that. It comes up with the tactic on the screen. It's empty at the moment because we haven't picked the players. It also comes up on the left hand side, all the team instructions. Now you can tweak these instructions as you see fit. Just bear in mind, if you do that, it may deviate away from the tactical style itself. So if you're not too familiar with tactics at the beginning of your manager journey, my advice is just to leave the instructions as they are for the moment, play a few friendly matches and just see if there's any tweaks that you can make after you've viewed maybe one or two of those games. Or maybe you might wait until the league season starts before you start making those tactical tweaks. Just as a little note as well, there is a plus sign up here where you can add another tactic. You can add up to 3 tactics at once. So if I just add in the tiki-taka style as well, and if we're just going to add in the third one as well, vertical tiki-taka, it would be beneficial to you to select all 3 tactics so that way they can be trained up over pre-season and they'll be ready for you to go and use as the season gets started. So you've assessed your squad, you've picked the tactics that you'd like to use for the coming season. The one thing I would ask that you check before you delve into the transfer window and decide, oh, who am I going to replace these players with? Check your youth development centre first. Right down here at the bottom, the left of your left side tabs. Just have a look and see if there's any young players who you could actually promote into the first team squad. So we have here first team candidates from your under 23s and under 18s, more likely from your under 23s most of the time. In the case of Arsenal, we have 2 players, Folarin Balogun and Omar Rekik, who's been recommended actually to be promoted to the first team. You may wish to do this for pre-season, just to see how they do in training and also in pre-season matches, and from there you can make a decision. Will they benefit your squad, or will you still need to go out and actually go and buy in the transfer window? Chances are you might do both, but the development centre could save you a little bit of money, especially if money is very, very tight at your club. Before we get to the transfer market itself, just a quick note, on the left hand side you'll have a tab for staff. Now if you go into staff, it's split into 3 different sections: coaching, recruitment and your medical. And you might notice there are some empty slots that are here, certainly at Arsenal, and chances are this is going to be the case at other clubs across the world, especially lower down the football pyramid in different countries. My recommendation is to fill, especially if you're in the top division, is to fill these slots. But if you're at a lower league club, for example, it might be beneficial to only fill as many slots as you feel that you need. For example, it might only be 1 scout that you need, 1 scout, 1 chief scout, maybe a few coaches, and certainly fill out your physios and sports scientists, because they're going to be very important for keeping your team fit. But bear in mind, the more staff that you hire, the more money you're spending on wages, the less money is going to be available for you to boost your squad and boost your facilities in the long term as well. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you have the staff available who are going to help your players get better, help you seek out better players in the long run, aka your scouts, and as far as your physios go, to make sure that your players are not injured for a long, long time. That's the last thing you really want to see in Football Manager. It's unavoidable, but you want the best physios possible in order to make sure that this isn't always going to be the case. And finally, of course, we have the transfer market. Now, there may be a few players that you wish to buy in order to make your squad better. Head for the scouting centre. You may already have a few players in here that your current scouts are scouting. If not, best thing to do is go to players, and you can either go to players who are already scouted under the scouted section, or you can go to player search if there's a particular player that you actually want to find. And also make sure transfer and loan is ticked, because then this will show to you players who are interested in either a transfer or a loan to your club at that particular time. A good little trick to do as well, if you go to transfers on the left hand side, go to Director of Football, assuming that you have one. If not, I recommend that you hire one, because they will be very, very useful for you to get players in. Go to Director of Football, go to Request Director of Football Suggestion, and you can select players of other positions and either a transfer or free transfer or a loan. And if you click on, for example, transfer, say you want the Director of Football to recommend a striker to you. No players found. That's absolutely fantastic. And it's the same for... oh, never mind. I'll tell you what, end of contract. Let's just go for end of contract. No players have been found. Don't let this put you off. This will happen sometimes, but chances are the Director of Football is going to come back with several players for you to have a look at, either to bring in on trial, or those with a scout report ready already, or if they don't have a scout report, you can then request a scout report until full knowledge. What I have shown you in this video is just some of the basics of starting your first ever save, or any save when it comes to Football Manager 2022. I just hope that it points you in the right direction, and hopefully gives you some advice and tips on where to start, and hopefully where you can progress from in your first ever save. I truly hope that you do enjoy your first ever experience with Football Manager, even if it's not your first time starting to save. Hopefully you might have just gained some tips along the way regardless, as we learn about this crazy and wacky game that is Football Manager. But thank you very much for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button down below and smash the big red subscribe button so you don't miss any future Football Manager content coming up. But thank you all so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video.